welcome. My name is Guadalupe Hurt. I am with Second Act Women, and I am super excited to introduce Ms. Jen Bilger to you. I had the opportunity of meeting Jen, what was it, like last year, at an event that we held down, or that we attended downtown, and we just clicked. And what I really love and excited about this presentation is that she is a growth coach with the Denver Metro Growth Coach here in Denver. And in addition to that, has just really great experience helping women, entrepreneurs specifically, hone in on their savvy, on their sales savvy, and just better understanding who they are as a salesperson and as a business professional. And so in today's session, I love the fact that she is likening sales to cupcakes and understanding what your style is. I would definitely be chocolate. I'm just going to say, because I love chocolate. What I really love is that in this session, you're going to really learn a little bit about you and about what your sales strategy and approach is and how you can convert and hone that in a little bit more to make even more meaningful connections that positively affect your bottom line. So it is my pleasure to introduce Jen, and I will let you take it away.
All right, thank you. Can everybody see me on the screen as well as the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome. I'm super excited to be here and doing this presentation. And one of my favorite things in the world is cupcakes. So I love talking about cupcakes and how it relates to everything in my world. Hopefully we can relate it in your world as well. So what do cupcakes tell us about our unique style? So for a second, I want you to imagine that you own this cupcake shop, or you are the person who is running this cupcake shop. And I walk in and I am your customer. So when I walk in, you start to show me this amazing, I think Lupe is going to like this cupcake here. It is this scrumptious looking, amazing cupcake. And you are absolutely telling me everything about this. And it is the cupcake of the day, which means it is on sale 50% off. So you think you have a sale in the bag because it is a scrumptious cupcake and it is amazing. But I absolutely look at you like this, because guess what? I don't like chocolate. So I am the opposite of a lot of people out there. I can't stand chocolate. Yes, I'm a woman. Yes, I'm human. I absolutely just do not prefer chocolate at all. And I love vanilla. And if you get me on a really crazy day, vanilla with a little bit of sprinkles on top is my absolute favorite cupcake in the world. So you're trying to sell me the thing that's the opposite of me. So what does that have to do with sales? What does my preference have to do with it? Well, it has everything to do with it, because our preferences are hardwired into what we do. It's where our strengths lie, where our motivations are, our actions, our choices, our decisions, all come from our preferences. Can I eat chocolate? Yes. Do I eat chocolate sometimes? When I'm forced to, yes. I can actually do it. This, for Thanksgiving this year, I'm actually doing hot chocolate bombs with my nieces, but I got white chocolate because white chocolate is not real chocolate. So I'm cheating. But can I have chocolate? Yes, but it's not my preference. And we're hardwired for what our preferences are and how that relates to us. And it goes into everything we do in our interactions, and all of our choices and everything we do are based on preferences. So you selling me something that's against my preference means I am not going to like what it is. You may lose a customer. I may walk out of your store, or I may get upset if you're trying to sell me something that's the opposite of what I prefer. So people, we're different, but we're all predictably different based on our preferences. And we have 4 different categories that we work with in our profiles: the D, the I, the S, and the C. And this is the percentages that you are seeing right now. This is what the United States, across the United States, this is the percentages for each of these profiles. So 3% are dominant in the D profile. 11% are in the I profile. C's are 17% of the population, and the meat of our population here in the United States falls into the S. So people are different, but based on our preferences and actions, once you understand who they are, you can predict some of the things that they're going to want to do. So let's talk about this a little bit more and talk about where this assessment comes from. So William Marston, He is the creator of this assessment. He is also the person who created the lie detector test. He also created something that's near and dear to me as well. Does anybody know? You guys can put it into the chat. I don't think I have my chat open, but you guys, does anybody else know what his other creation is? You can unmute, you can say it out loud.
No, I don't.
Oh, can you guys see? It's Wonder Woman.
Yes, I can see it. What? He created Wonder Woman?
He created Wonder Woman. So not only did he create the DISC assessment and the lie detector test, but he is the person that brought us Wonder Woman. So
Smart
this,
man.
oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. This is why I love this assessment so much, because it goes so much into who, you know, something that is so near and dear to me. So let's go back into the lie detector test. Now we all know about the lie detector test. It measures stress levels. It measures the changes in stress levels. And it is an amazing resource for so many different reasons, but it is not admissible in court for a really good reason. It's because there are things that can be done that can skew results and things like that. So as he was studying everything and going into this, he came up with these 4 profiles and how we interact with each other and what our preferences are and what our motivations are. And it gives you this deep dive into who you are, but it's a resource. It is something that's a snapshot of the moment when you take it. And it is all about who you are in your core, and then what your blend is around your core. So let me go into that a little bit more. There are 3 contributing factors to your behavioral style. The first is going to be heredity and from birth, and that's going to be that core piece of you. When you're under stress, this is what's going to happen most of the time. You're going to go back into your comfort zone, and this is that piece of that core that isn't going to change much over time. But our role models up to age 12 and our experiences after age 8 make up our unique blend over time. So to answer the question that might be in your head right now, does our profile change? Yes, it does. It changes based on our experiences over time after the age of 8. So you're working in an environment and it can change who you are based on what is happening while you're working. I had a boss that was a horrible boss early in my career, and it changed everything about who I am. I am who I am today because of that individual, because I never wanted to be anything like that person. Before I met that person, who knows what would have happened. My core, though, still is the same. That is not going to change much over time, but everything else around us does. So you take your DISC profile today, you take it 2 weeks from now, it can be dramatically different based on experiences that happen, or it can be very similar. But you're going to have this core piece of who you are that it's going to resonate with you mostly. And we did our quick DISC test to kind of figure out where that falls. And this is just a very high level DISC assessment that kind of just goes with what your preferences are, because that's what the DISC profile is about, where your preferences are. So DISC is about observable behavior. So what I'd like you to do is take a look at this. And as you're focusing on this, just look at the behavior that's there. All right. Go ahead and fill out the worksheets. Tell me what you see in this picture. There's going to be 4 of them that come up, and I just want you to focus on what you're seeing in this picture. And here's the 3rd picture. And this one's image 4. This one's one of my favorite things. All right. And back to this image again. But I'm going to have you now list the differences that you see, but not the differences that you see, what the differences you see in me, not in the picture. So I'm going to give you guys some time to figure out what is different about my appearance, because DISC is all about what we observe. And since I haven't told anybody yet, the person who gets the most right answers gets a free deep dive behavioral assessment and review session from me. So really focus. It could be 5 things, it could be 6 things, it could be less, it could be more. All right, everybody have their things? Anybody need 30 more seconds?
I'm good.
You're good? All right. Anybody get 5 things that I changed about my appearance?
I got 4.
Oh, 4.
Way to go, Lupe.
4 also.
Any 4 also? Okay. Who was the second person that said 4 things?
Oh, Bonnie.
Who is that?
Bonnie.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Why don't you start? So let's start with the demonstrative things, the very big things that you see that's different. What's the first thing?
Red jacket.
Red jacket. Yes, I'm wearing my very lucky red talking jacket.
Second thing?
Yep.
I think you took your glasses off.
I did take my glasses off. Third thing,
Did you put lipstick on?
I did change my lipstick color. Lupe, is that the one you got as well?
Yes.
Who else got the lipstick thing? Very nice. And what's the 4th thing?
This one's reaching, but I feel like your background, the font with your coach name is different.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Is the positioning of your background different?
Nope.
Does anyone else have anything else other than what Bonnie just identified?
Nope.
I also feel like you pulled your hair back.
I did pull
Yes,
my
you
hair
did.
back. I think we have winner chicken dinner because you got all 4, didn't you?
Yay! Yes, I did.
I will contact you after this. Make sure you drop your email to me privately in the chat, and I will get you all set up for your free assessment.
Thank
So I am going to
you.
put my glasses back on.
So what was the 5th one that we missed?
There wasn't 5.
Oh, okay.
That is a really good marketing technique called planting the seed. This is a sales technique when you're looking to negotiate with people. You start with something that you want to go towards, and people have it planted in their head, so they're driving towards it. But there was never a 5th one. So thank you for asking that question. That was really good. All right. So what do cupcakes tell us about our interactions with others? Well, it's that brain hardwiring that we have. It gives us our drives, our motivations, our decisions, our choices. It also gives everybody else that we're interacting with their decisions, their choices. So once you have that understanding of where it is and you're observing that behavior, you pick up on these things and you can do something about what you're doing. You can swivel and adjust and meet the needs of the people around you. So let's start by talking about what focus each profile has. So each of the 4 profiles has something that they focus specifically on. So this is going to be that dominant profile that you have. D's focus on problems. Somebody who is dominant in their D profile will assertively challenge problems. Somebody who isn't dominant in that profile and is low will avoid conflict and build consensus. I's, their focus is people. They're the really high relational side of the profiles. They actively seek out people to interact with and influence. If you're low in your I, they keep their thoughts and opinions to themselves. So they're more passive, they're more quiet. If you're high in your S, it's about the pace, more about the steadiness and the stability around things. If you're high in your S, you will initially resist change, but it doesn't mean you're you don't like change at all and you will not change. It means that you resisted in the beginning. If it isn't broke, why not? Why do we have to fix it? If it worked in the past, why do we have to change? If you're lower in your S, you're going to be more flexible and open to those changes. And C's are about the processes and procedures. Their preference is that they prefer people to set the rules for them, create the rules that they're going to follow. And if you're low in your C, you're going to want to make those rules yourself that you're going to follow. So it doesn't mean that you're not rule bound if you're low in your C, that you don't follow rules. It just means you want to be in control of the rules that you're setting to follow. We have two different types of profiles that fall into this. And if everybody gets out the third page of their worksheet, it starts with I am a dominant style. So what I want you to do is each of you have tallied up these. We're going to answer this question in subsequent slides, but you all have those, the one with the biggest tally number. So if it's group 1, it's going to be a D profile. If it's group 2, it's going to be an I. If it's group 3, it's going to be a C. And if it's group 4, it's going to be an S. Okay, yes.
Melissa, could we just have like 2 minutes just to complete this profiles real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will take a break.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I came in a little late. Where did you get the profile that you're filling out, Verona?
Oh,
Let me email that over to you right now, Brenda.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
You got it.
While you guys are still filling it out, let's go into the active and passive profiles. So the active profile is going to be the one with the energy that needs to get out. The pace is a little bit quicker. They're a little bit more excited and they're a little bit more expressive in what they do. Passive profiles are going to be a little bit more conservative and reserved. And they are going to be a little bit more slower paced, a little bit more cautious in what they do, a little bit more deliberate. They're going to be a little bit more in the terms of wait and see type profiles, where the active profiles are going to want to take action right away. I'm going to pull up my chat function really quick. How is everybody doing?
I just got mine, so, but if everybody else is done, you move ahead. I will catch up.
Okay, I'm going to go back into the share. I might have an issue. Oh, you got to give me back the host thing. Sorry. I accidentally stopped the share when I turned off my chat. I'll keep talking though. So between the two different types of styles, we also have people orientation and task orientation. And this is going to help us decide who we're dealing with each person that we're working with. And it also gives you if you're task oriented or people oriented and where you fall in your sales style as well. All right, let's see if I can do this again. So sorry about that, guys. It completely just shut off everything. Oh. All right, so active and passive. Can everybody see that okay? All right, so let's start answering some of these questions. Oh, you know what? Yes, so active profiles. They're going to be the D's and the I's. So the second part of the worksheet that you guys have, where it says active profiles, these are our idealists. These are people who are early adopters. And it's very important when we're working with people to understand this, not only about ourselves, but talk about our customers. So when we get to that part, we'll talk about it a little bit more. They are our people who look towards the future, and they're motivated by the possibilities. So the answer to the question is possibilities. So active profiles like high D and high I profiles are idealists and are early adopters. They look towards the future and they're motivated by the possibilities. So when we talk about early adopters, these are the people who stand in line for new technology. These are the people who they're the people who currently have the newest iPhone right now. They want it immediately as soon as it comes out. Our passive profiles, like the S and the C, they are realist. They are more rooted in the past. They resist change at first, and they're going to want to research the product or service before making a buying decision. Now, our active profiles, and if you fall into one of these profiles, it doesn't mean that you don't do research. You just get through the research a little bit quicker. You're a little bit more fast-paced in how you deal with that information. You want the newest, the brightest, shiniest object immediately, whereas our S's and C's are more about, let's see how the bugs are worked out. Let's wait and see a little bit longer. Let's see exactly if this is going to be something that is great or not. So talking about task and people orientation, our task-oriented side are going to be the D's and the C's. These are people who are going to be motivated by data. They are people who want facts, figures, and if you're active in that, like a D profile, you want top level information and you want the information as quickly as possible. Whereas if you're a C, you're going to want to research everything around you and continue to sit with the information for a while before you make a choice. Our people-oriented side are going to be the I's and the S's. These are the relational side of the profiles. They are the ones that are more focused on people rather than the task. Now, as we're talking about this, it doesn't mean that I's and S's aren't focused on task and completing goals. It just means people focus first, then task. And D's and C's, it's not that they don't focus on people, they focus on the task which the people will be doing. So there's just different focuses that we have. So, answering the questions at the top of the worksheet. Different profiles fall into different categories. So your sales profile is going to be a little different. So dominant Ds are fixers, and they view selling as a problem to solve. So to answer that first question that's there, or that first sentence, dominant Ds view selling as a problem to solve, and they're the fixers of the group. They focus on problems, as we recall from an earlier slide. I's focus on people, and they want to influence people around them. So they are influencers, and they view selling as a way to influence people and influence others. Now, both of these profiles are high in the problem solving. They want to fix a problem. D's focus on the problem itself. I's focus on the influencing of the people to solve the problem. Dominant S's, there are helpers. They view selling as a way to help others. They want to solve a problem as well, but they're in it to ensure that what they're providing is somebody who helps others. So those of us who are coaches, there's two profiles for coaches that usually fall for coaches. Not that you have to fall into this profile. Usually they're influencers or they're helpers because they want to provide a product or service that's going to help people and influence people. Dominant C's, there are fact finders, and they want to make sure that customers fully understand features, advantages, and benefits. They focus on letting the person know the benefits of the product or service. So you can see as we're going through this, each of the different profiles has a different focus and has a different style of selling. And it's so important to understand who you are. So we have 3 simple steps to better interactions. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Jennifer, you said dominant C's are what?
Fact finders.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And they want customers to fully understand the features, advantages, and benefits. So there are 3 simple steps to better interactions, increasing your revenue, increasing your communication, increasing your sales. The first step is to know your style. So going to where it is, your unique style is tied directly to your preferences. When it comes to sales, communication, and leadership, that different situations call for different styles, but knowing and understanding and becoming comfortable with who you are and what your unique style is, as well as being aware of what's required for the situation, is essential for that effective communication, leadership, and building the relationships and connections in sales. So, group number 1, these are our D profiles. They're active, adventurous, bold, direct communication. They are the people who are the problem solvers. I's are going to be optimistic, talkative, likable, persuasive, energetic. They're the cheerleaders of the group. They're the ones that encourage people. C's, this is group number 3, by the way. There are diligent, creative, detail-oriented, correct, focused, logical, and organized individuals. And our last group, our largest group across the United States, is going to be the S profile. They're the passive, loyal, practical, committed, relationship-focused. Did anybody have 2 groups that had a number that was very equal? And your name's not on the screen. Are you Brenda though?
Me?
Yes, Brenda.
Yeah. Yes, I'm Brenda.
So you had 2 that had the same number of words circled?
Yeah, I had 8 for both of them.
8 for both? What 2 profiles?
Group 1 and group 4.
So group one and group 4. So you're a D and you're S?
Okay. A D and an S.
Yes. So group number 1 is going to be D. Group number 2 is going to be I. Group number 3 is going to be the C. And group number 4 is going to be the S. So very nice. Did anybody else have 2 groups that were really close? Kelly.
It's funny because I took this. I didn't know you were doing this. So I'm looking back at my old test from 4 years ago. So I'm an I and a C.
An I and a C. Are you still an I and a C, or did it change? Do you think it changed a little?
I would say it's changed a little bit. I would put me a little bit more in a D.
Okay.
But I want to take it again because I'm in a totally different
Absolutely.
time in my life.
Oh,
Different time in my life.
And they do change over time. They change. I will tell you, when I left the corporate world, when I was in the corporate world, I was a blend, and I was a very high D in the corporate world as part of my blend. It is my 3rd highest now that I own my own business. And I would have taken the test the day after I left the corporate world. That's exactly what it would have shown. Now, over time of owning my own business, the D has come back up a little bit. But it's still not as strong as it was while I was in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. So our experiences, our environment, everything changes. And I love that you took it before and you feel like it has changed. And Brenda and both of you guys having that blend, because that is explaining what it is. We all have a unique style and a unique blend, and we have to have a deep understanding of what that means for us. And it's very good to become very familiar with what that means. So for instance, if you are an S profile, you know that you're going to be a little bit more reserved in it, but you have a voice that wants to be heard, but you're quiet. You're going to be a little bit more wait and see. But if you have some D in your profile, or you learn how to raise that up and bring it forward, because we have all 4 pieces in our profile. We are made up of all 4 of these different profiles. It's just our unique blend. But when you have a little bit more D and you learn how to use that voice a little bit more, you can speak out a little bit more comfortably and get that out there a little bit more than being the wait and see. I call my S's my ready to go leaders. Go ahead.
I have to pop off for a minute. My boss is calling me. Sorry.
Absolutely. Go ahead. But so our S's are our quiet leaders because they have amazing voices and amazing ideas, and they're very relational in what they do, but they're very quiet and passive in how they deal with it. So they're more supportive of leaders, and they're more comfortable in that support function most of the time. but bringing that D out just a little bit more allows them to speak that voice a little bit more. So this is why it's so important to understand our different styles. Are there any questions before we go on? And I want to be cognizant of time. Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, you had says D wants to be heard and C is a quiet leader and supportive. How would you identify I and C?
So S's are quiet leaders, and C's
Yes.
are quiet as well. C's are quiet as well. C's are going to be more of the people who want a lot of questions. They're going to be, each has a different leadership profile and communication profile as well. Very good question, thank you. So C's are going to be more about getting all the information before they make decisions. And as leaders, they're going to want to gather all that information, and they're going to want to surround themselves by people who they trust to give them the facts and details. I's are cheerleaders. They're encouragers. They're the people who want to influence the people around them for doing something more, doing something, understanding where we need to go. So they're a lot of times creative individuals, not always, but a lot of times they fall into that category because they come up with ideas, and they're going to be quick to make decisions. I's are near and dear to me because I'm an I. So I'll just come out and tell you, I am an I. That's my favorite profile because there's so much about it that, of course, resonates with me. But I's are people who are quick to come to conclusions and quick to say things, but they do it more with the relational side of things. So that actually takes us into the second part. I hope that answered your question, Dina. Did that answer? So step number 2, learn to recognize the styles around the styles of the people around you. So your clients, your team members, your colleagues, everybody around you. So if I walked into that cupcake shop and I had a t-shirt that said, I love vanilla cupcakes, would you try to sell me a chocolate cupcake? So understanding the people around you is like everybody is wearing a t-shirt that says what their preferences are. So that's what you want to start to do. So the best thing we can do is start to figure out by their behavior, because it's all about behavior. So as you can see, I've already told you I'm an I, but I use my hands a lot when I talk. I'm an active profile. I'm a person who's animated and expressive and talkative. That's part of what you want to recognize. So people who are more quiet and reserved are going to be our passive profiles, or our S's and C's. So going back to our active profiles, they're going to tell more than ask. And our passive profiles are going to ask more than they tell. So what does that sound like when you're out in the world? Because a question can also be telling you something. So if I was an active profile, I would say something along the lines of, I prefer traditional flavors like chocolate and vanilla. What do you have available? So still a question, but I've told you exactly what I want by asking that question. Whereas somebody who's going to ask more than they tell is just going to ask the general, what kind of cupcakes do you have available? They're not going to tell you anything in that question. Does that make sense to everybody? So in the way that they talk, the cadence, the tone, if they're quiet, if they're more expressive, if they're telling things more than asking, all of these things tell you who you're dealing with. I actually love meeting people in person because I do the walk test with them. And the walk test is this: once you know your own profile, you know if you're passive or if you're active. So once you understand that, you can test by having somebody walk with you. If you need to keep up with them and you're a passive profile, they're an active profile because they have a faster pace than you do. If you feel like they're walking too slow and you're an active profile, that means they're a passive profile. But if you know you're passive and you don't feel like they're walking too fast, you can surmise they are also passive. but you have to let them take the first step and set the cadence and set the pace in which they're walking. So it's very simple and easy to do that. You direct somebody and say, our table's right over there, or we're going to go into the store, and you allow them to take the first step. So you're allowing them to do it. And once they start walking, if you feel like the pace is different than yours, and you know what your profile is, you know what they can be. So you already have 50% of it done. So if you're passive and you know they're active because they're walking faster than you, and this works if we're all able, we don't have, like, if you don't have a broken foot or something of that nature, those type of things. But it works very well when you're meeting people. And it's one of those tricks that I use when I'm meeting people the first time. But you already know they're active, so you just need to know whether they're asking or telling more direct things. So a direct thing would be, I like this and this. Whereas a more generalized way of explaining something, or something that's more on the relational side or more on the I side of that active profile, they would say something along the lines of, as a child growing up, my favorite cupcake was what my grandmother made me, vanilla cupcakes. So they're going to put more emotion, more feeling into things. Doesn't mean D's are less, they don't have emotion. It just means they're more fact-based and more direct in how they communicate. On the other side, conservative and reserved individuals, they're going to ask questions. So S's are going to ask more questions about what are other people doing? My favorite, everybody's getting vanilla. Okay, that's what everybody's getting. They're going to be more relational in how they're dealing with it. C's do the same thing, but they ask about, what's the highest cupcake that's been sold? So when they're asking those questions, it's more fact-based. What's your most popular cupcake? So it's based on what people are doing, but it's more factual and more about the details and more about the information that's out there. Okay. Any questions before we go on?
Yes. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I love the whole walking comparison. I think that's genius, because Barb and I are just here laughing, saying, oh my gosh, you are.
I can see you guys laughing too.
I'm like, you're so this and I'm so this. Yes. So we're having a ball. So it's not that we're being, my apologies, I didn't be disrespectful in that way. It was just more, we were having these conversations relating to what you're saying. But I'm curious. So in this case, like, if you are, you obviously we can't see each other a lot. So this idea of walking is something that I covet when we can see each other again. Do you have a tip or a way to figure this out on Zoom?
Yeah. So using the hands, something that people do when they're active. They can't stop it. It's just something you can't stop. I actually adjust my behavior by putting my hands in my lap when I'm on Zoom calls. So I actually do something of that, but people who are active can't stop it. They have to get the energy outside of their system. So that's one way. The way in which they talk, the inflection in their voice. So you can tell right now that I have a lot more inflection and everything, but I can also change it to be a little bit more reserved and a little bit more quiet. So I'm still getting my point across. My pace is a little bit more deliberate. I'm putting more thought into what's going on around me. It doesn't mean that the active profiles don't put thought into it. They're just a little bit more fast-paced in how they deal with information. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's awesome. Appreciate it.
Keep that on screen for a second.
We're going to just take a quick pick.
Did you get the quick pick? All right.
Can we get a copy of this PowerPoint or not?
Absolutely, yes. So I'll send it out. I'll send a PDF version out as soon as I like to change my slides up until the last minute. So
yeah, no, and Dina, we're going to be uploading everything like usual into the Insider. So we'll have the presentation and the worksheet available to download as well too.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm not going to try to open my chat again because I destroyed it before. Like, I shut down everything. So could you just let me know if there's something in the chat I need to be aware of?
All right. People are just commenting on what they are, what letters they are. I think people are figuring that out. So they're
figuring out where they are. I love that. That's my favorite thing about doing something like this. When people say, oh my goodness, I'm so this. So disc buying styles, why it's so important is because it goes into what step number 3 is. But focusing on the buying styles. Ds are decision makers. They are the quickest decision makers. They get the information, they're motivated by data, they see possibilities, and they are fast-paced and active. So it's don't waste my time, give me high-level information. If you're telling a long story, they're not gonna like it. They're gonna wanna walk away. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So once you recognize it's a D, you got to change that style in which you're selling to that person to match what they're doing. So if they're a C, they're a comparison shopper. C's are the longest ones to sit with information before they make a decision. They want to go into a lot of times something called analysis paralysis. They will continue to keep looking and compare the facts and the information and the benefits. So they're my favorite sales profile because they are more in tune to the customer needs than most of the other profiles. It doesn't mean the other profiles are not. They just know the information, the technical data, the benefits and everything, and they recognize what the customer needs so much because they have all this dictionary in their head of all the information. But there are comparison shoppers. S's are passive as well. They're gonna sit with the information for a long time as well, longer than the I's and D's, but they're gonna wanna know around them what everybody else is doing, what their friends, what their family. This is when referrals come into big play. They want to know what recommendations and referrals are out there. I's, they relate to people. They want to have story time, but they're also impulsive decision makers. I have actually walked into places before as a high I and said, this just feels right, and bought a house based on the feeling. Literally walked in and said, this feels like the place we need to be. And my husband's standing there, who is an S, going, we need to do more research. And I'm like, nope, I'm done. I have made my choice. I have made my decision. I know this is the thing. I can look at 12 different places, or I can look at one place and have the same reaction, just so you know. It's where eyes are more impulsive in how they make decisions. And this is all wonderful information to know. And on this side, if you guys can't see it, I's and S's are motivated by the experience of things. So if you noticed when I was saying it, it's the experience that's involved. They want to know that it's going to be the best possible thing for how they feel about things, because there are people-oriented side and they're more relational. So it's so wonderful to know all this information and understand that C's and S's are going to want to research. They're going to sit with the information longer. D's and I's are going to be quicker. So your D and I clients, which happens to be only 14% of the population, so the least amount of people you're going to interact with in sales, are going to make those decisions as quickly as possible. You just have to figure out if you want to focus on the experience or the information for those active profiles. They will be the people who don't sit with the information as long. Okay? Any questions? You guys have such good questions. All right, that leads us into step number 3. I swear this is one of my last slides before we get to all the questions and everything. So the third step is to adapt or swivel your style to meet the needs of those around you. So you want to know this information so you know if you are an S and your selling style is a little bit more passive, you need to be a little bit faster paced with the D person, and you have to give them top level information. Or if you're an I and you like to tell stories, you can't do that with somebody who's more goal or task oriented, and you need to cut it a little bit short. If you're going to have FAQs or something of that nature, you know that that's going to really be a great thing for all of the profiles, except for the I's. I's really don't care about FAQs. So they do and they don't. It's not something, but for the rest of the profiles, FAQs are amazing. I always tell my clients, have an FAQ. FAQs do 2 things for you, by the way. If you have a list of frequently asked questions, they think you get a lot of questions from your clients. So it automatically thinks that there's an audience that's already part of your clientele. The second thing it does is answer those questions for people like C's to help them get to decisions quicker, gives information to S's about who is buying the product, and it gives the top level information to a D, which they really enjoy and love. All right. And we want to do all of this because we're building those relationships, and relationships and connections are everything in sales. Because we all know the one adage that's out there, which is we want to buy from people who are most like us, who resonate with us, who we have a connection with in some sort. So as you're doing this and you're recognizing their style, you build that connection with the other people. And that's what it makes it so they're more likely to come back to you and buy from you. That's me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Questions? I will put this up because somebody did ask about it before. So for everybody who's here today, they do get 50% off my behavioral assessment and review for anybody who would like to take advantage of that.
And ladies, just a quick testament on that. Both Barb and I did it. And as you saw, we didn't mean to be giggling off screen. Now that I think about it, I'm like, well, I guess I should have turned off my video. But we did the session with Jen, and boy, was it very revealing into just how we work together. I mean, she had some really great insights on how we could even work even better together. And so it was just very eye-opening. And I love that even in this presentation, you gave some tangible ideas, both digitally and in person, that you can walk away with and start to create more meaningful relationships. Because at the end of the day, we all know that that's the cornerstone of sales and the success of our business. So Jen, thank you so much for this opportunity to kind of share your talent and your expertise with us.